Japan's ongoing development and field testing of hypersonic missile capabilities marks one of the most significant strategic evolutions in its post-war defense posture. For decades, Japanese security policy was built on the principle of territorial defense within clearly defined boundaries. The emphasis was on shielding the homeland and maintaining stable relations with neighboring countries through reassurance and transparency. That framework, while effective in a previous strategic era, is now facing unprecedented pressure from a rapidly transforming regional security climate. It is against this backdrop that the adoption of hypersonic missile systems by the Japanese self-defense forces must be interpreted. Hypersonic weapons fundamentally alter the timing, speed, and uncertainty of military engagement. Traveling at speeds exceeding Mach 5, with complex maneuvering patterns and reduced detectability, these weapons compress decision-making windows for any adversary and create a deterrent effect rooted in unpredictability. Japan is not alone in pursuing such capabilities. The United States and China are both advancing their own hypersonic programs, while Russia already claims operational deployment. For Japan, this effort is not about parity for prestige, but rather about constructing a credible strategic deterrent tailored to the maritime geography of the first island chain and the wider Western Pacific. The Pacific theater places unusual constraints on defense planning. Targets can move quickly across vast and open ocean spaces, naval forces can reposition rapidly, and aerial assets can exploit a wide envelope of approach vectors. To counter this, Japan increasingly needs long-range, high-speed, precision-response armament that can threaten or interdict mobile platforms such as warships or missile-carrying aircraft. Traditional subsonic or even supersonic munitions lack the reaction time and penetrative capacity required to deal with the emerging anti-access models in the region. Hypersonic systems afford Japan a tool that complicates the strategic calculus of any potential adversary. Every Japanese coastal or island-based launcher becomes a source of uncertainty for an approaching fleet. The geography of southwest Japan is a decisive factor. The chain of islands stretching from Kyushu to Yonaguni forms a natural barrier between the East China Sea and the open Pacific. Maritime traffic, particularly naval deployments, must navigate through defined straits and choke points, the Miyako Strait, the Bashi Channel, and others. Japan's emerging approach is not to block these routes physically, but to overlay them with layers of surveillance, tracking, and potential denial. The pairing of radar installations, anti-ship missile batteries, and emerging hypersonic systems creates a networked defensive scaffolding. If fully developed, this posture does not require Japan to engage in constant confrontation. Instead, deterrence is achieved by the mere presence of actionable capabilities. The technical foundation of the hypersonic program aligns closely with Japan's existing strengths in industrial engineering, microsensor precision, and materials science. While publicly available information remains limited, it is widely understood that the Japanese research trajectory emphasizes reliability, navigation technology, and thermal-resistant manufacturing rather than shock-inducing overmatch capability. In this sense, the Japanese approach is evolutionary rather than revolutionary. Rather than seeking the largest payload or the highest speed on record, the priority is consistent, controllable performance suited for strategic predictability within alliance-linked operational planning. The relationship with the United States plays an essential role. Although the Japanese self-defense forces maintain operational independence in their systems development, the technological ecosystem surrounding hypersonic research is closely aligned with American frameworks. Knowledge transfer, co-development channels, and integrated software coordination architectures allow Japan to ensure that its emerging systems remain interoperable with allied tactical and strategic networks. This matters because any high-end conflict scenario in the Western Pacific would not be unilateral. Japan would never be operating alone. Instead, integrated targeting, shared radar data, and cooperative engagement would be the defining operational paradigm. Japan's domestic debate is evolving as well. The post-war consensus that strictly confined Japan to reactive defense has already begun shifting. The reinterpretation of collective self-defense a decade ago signaled the beginning of this change. The current developments represent the next phase. Hypersonic weapons do not necessarily imply aggression. Their primary value lies in raising the perceived cost of initiating force against Japan or its periphery. In that sense, hypersonic deterrence can be seen as stabilizing rather than destabilizing, but only if properly integrated into a doctrine that emphasizes predictability and clarity of strategic signaling. From the perspective of neighboring states, reactions vary. Some observers view Japanese hypersonic experimentation with caution, worrying about an accelerating cycle of arms competition. Others interpret it as an inevitable response to broader regional shifts, such as Chinese naval expansion and North Korean missile modernization. Many analysts apply a lens of symmetry. If Japan maintains only legacy-era defensive systems, while others pursue advanced strike capabilities, the regional balance would tilt dangerously. In this framing, Japan's hypersonic development is not escalation, but rather equilibrium maintenance. The long-term implications are substantial. By the early to mid-2030s, Japan may possess a layered deterrence model combining early warning networks, hypersonic strike capability, advanced surface ships, next-generation fighters, and autonomous aerial platforms. This will not transform Japan into an aggressive military power, but it will elevate its role as a stabilizing partner within regional security architecture. Hypersonic capability also reinforces Japan's industrial and technological leadership. Successful commercialization of defense-related technologies could support domestic industry and create new avenues for export to trusted security partners. The decisive factor in the success of this strategy will not be the missile system itself, but the strategic discipline surrounding its use. Japan's history of careful, restrained military posture gives it strong credibility in this regard. If Japan continues messaging its hypersonic capability as part of a transparent and measured defensive strategy, it can avoid misunderstandings and maintain international confidence. The key is ensuring that the program's intent is clearly communicated: deterrence, not preemption; stability, not escalation. Ultimately, Japan's pursuit of hypersonic missile capability represents a rational adaptation to a changing strategic environment. It is driven not by ideological ambition, but by practical security needs in a maritime theater shaped by distance, timing, and mobility. In a region where miscalculation could have severe consequences, deterrence through credible capability may indeed be the most responsible approach. The development of hypersonic systems does not signal a departure from Japan's peace-oriented identity, but rather an update of its defense tools to meet 21st-century realities.